Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday for all you that are out there on social media and on LinkedIn. Hey, my name is Hiram Figueroa. I am on LinkedIn and I am the co-host of LinkedIn Perspective. Today's conversation on episode 73 is going to be on the fallen law enforcement officers that I just witnessed their one service over here in St. Patrick's Cathedral via Facebook in New York City for the fallen Officer Rivera and Officer Mora. So for a lot of us right now, just want to be able to say a couple things that, I want to take a moment to really reflect on everything that's pretty much on here. Let me see who this is. Hello? Who's this? Hello? So anyway, as we do things live, right? Just want to be able to touch on a couple of things. I'm pretty much upset and just want to bring something to the table here in the beginning of 2022. With a rash of fallen officers that have been able to be posted on LinkedIn and on Facebook, I'm pretty much shocked and appalled by a number of things. That's how we in society have allowed for this to get out of hand in a way where people don't really understand what's going on. Pretty much within 2 weeks, we've had 5 law enforcement officers throughout the nation lose their lives. But especially home in New York City, I find it very sad that this officer Rivera, 22 years old, and the other Officer Moore, young guys, very impressionable, from the neighborhood, from Washington Heights in precinct 32 precinct. As a former reserve officer for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and a supporter for the law enforcement officer agency and overall, I think that we need to really look at what's going on with our society as far as how we're going to more or less take back our streets. Ever since the George Floyd situation, we've had a lot of politicians stating, defund the police, defund this. Well, look what happened now. Look what's happening in Los Angeles. I got a lot of comments, so let me check this out here for a lot of things that they're saying. It's pretty much, we'll go right here. Hello from Pakistan. How are you? Hey, my brother. What's up, Chris? No problem. Hello from Tulsa. How are you? What's happening, Jose? How are you? What's up, Joe? I saw the funeral. Hiram, the words with the widow was very touching. Yeah, I mean, people don't understand how I literally cried. I cried. I was bawling. Watch that widow cry her ass off, I used to work in that area. So you know what I'm talking about, Chris. Everything is pretty much it, Robert, it was brought me to tears. Officer Rivera's wife and brother tributes. If that didn't hit home, then you're missing out. That's why I putting it out there. I still get emotional on this, and I need to be able to put this into perspective for quite a few things. Chris, very heartfelt service. I think that it's a very heartfelt service, and I believe that New York City should be able to start taking the street back. Thanks to Mayor de Blasio for butchering the city's compliance, that we lost so much respect, and there's no respect for the NYPD. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't understand that. When Steve, thank you. I back blue. Well, I back blue all the way, man. That's why I'm talking about. So for a lot of you individuals, we're talking about, it saddens me to see somebody at 22 years old lose their lives with an assault weapon. And it saddens me that everyone is jumping on the bandwagon to defund the police. But, you know, I have a hard time digesting this because people are not out there policing and witnessing all these types of crimes that really, really get in there. So, yeah, Jose, you want to call? My number's up there. Just call me. I'll let it post. All right. And yeah, Douglas, indeed, we need to be able to talk about that. But, this is a virtual town hall perspective on this, and we need to be able to put things in perspective and put things in a way where people need to understand that, because it's time. I'm tired of witnessing this crap. Seriously. It's true. DeBaggio for 8 years did injustice. Let me find out. Good morning. Hello? Can you call back? Yeah. Hello?
Hey, good afternoon, Hiram.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
All right. Well, fair. It's kind of just on a note, being from New York originally.
Right.
The thing is, though, is that we were waving flags, and I'm originally in San Diego now.
Yeah.
We were waving flags up when towers fell and all that other stuff.
Right.
And I just knew the thing with dangers is that it's, I remember this one Gunny Pop.
Hello? You still there? Oh man, we're having some difficulty. Can you repeat that? I think.
See, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Go ahead.
So, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so the thing is, when he was a younger Marine, he was saying, hoorah, hoorah, I can't Pendleton, in and out's 5 minutes away, so you're all good. The thing is of being in the trenches, and that's the thing about us now, is that we were short-lived on 9/11. We didn't let the momentum just stop. And the thing is, though, the New York voters got to look at the New York City voter being from there, has got to look at themselves. You voted all these people. We voted all, but I'm not saying from there anymore, but I mean, I'm from there, but I'm living anymore, but we voted these people in.
Right.
Policy, it's not some mysterious policy, some bad news on the side. Because I remember when Giuliani and Bernard Kerik took over, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is, I remember I came back home on leave. New York City wasn't even New York. I was like, what the heck is going on? You got Toys R Us instead of pimp shops. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was insane.
Right.
And the thing is, though, is that now you got too fat, dumb, and happy, and it was all good. And then when Giuliani left, it started with Bloomberg and de Blasio. Don't blame de Blasio. Blame ourselves. We voted for him twice.
You got a good point.
It's not a mystery.
No.
It's not a mystery.
No, you have a great point.
Twice.
No. To your point, man, you have a great point. I'm like yourself. I've been away from New York, right? I live out here in California. Been living out here. The last time I visited was in 2018. Now, between 2018 and 2014, I saw a big difference. And I can honestly tell you that 2018, I saw a rift of crime that was ridiculous. And I go like, this ain't the same New York City. But you shed some light on some things that people don't realize, and we're paying from the aftermath. As a military guy myself, I look at it. Just to your point, I'm saddened by this loss of life. I mean, what's your take on it? I didn't mean to interject. I needed to just share that.
No, that's cool. I mean, these are guys that look like me. But the point, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. These are guys that look like me where I grew up at, and this kid in an environment which is hard. It's like joining the military in Vietnam.
Right.
I mean, who the heck wants to do that? I mean, not saying we did. We could do. We're not that old. But the point is this, that the thing is, though, is just that this guy, in the heat of the fire, this guy wanted to be a cop. Both of them.
Right.
Hispanic and all that other stuff. Where all the protests then?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fit the narrative, man. Because the point is that this dude, we'll talk about that after with a cigar. So,
yeah.
But this dude, the thing is, though, that you gotta look in the mirror and say, this is not mysterious movie theater. I mean, look at yourself and who you vote for. And the thing is, these two guys joined in the heat of, because they were kids.
Yeah.
They're kids. So it's not like they were 50-year-old, 30 veteran, 30, God, it doesn't justify it. It's not like they joined 20 years ago during the Giuliani era where people were waving flags.
Mm-hmm.
They joined in the heat of the battle where everybody hates police. You could spit on a cop and this would have happened to you. Nothing.
Correct.
Nothing.
Correct.
I'm not even exaggerating. You know that because we're from front. You know that just as well as I do. They were pouring water on police.
Well, that's my point. They were throwing water balloons and pouring water in the police. And I'm watching segments of TikTok, right, where people are actually driving up to the police cars, smashing their cars. The other ones, they're spitting on them. The other things, this is happening in Times Square. And it's like, where did all this go? Where did, and to my point, I need to circle back on it because I want to get it started with one particular law enforcement officer that went nationwide. And look, one cop, there's plenty of them. There's plenty. We always have that bad apple, but it's sensationalized. It's sensationalized that defund the police. So nobody else wants to be a cop. But as your point is, these are kids in the heat of the battle. They're from the urban city. They've seen the crime and they still wanted to do that. And my point is that it was very sad to see the brother crying and the wife.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
I can see the wife, bro. The thing is, we want to keep blaming, and that regarding the tool, but the point is the weapon. We don't, bro. And I'll tell you, as a cigar, is when we meet up. But the point is that I carried an M1 on the subway trains in New York in high school, bro.
Wow.
And I'm not that old.
Wow.
Well, granted, it was full of cement, but nobody even questioned me because I had a uniform and a school uniform on.
Right.
But the point, nobody freaked the hell out. Nobody. This was in the 80s. I'm not that old. This was in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Mr. McCarthy, he probably passed away, but Mr. McCarthy carried guns on a subway train when he had a rifle team in the high school, in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So we keep wanting to try to blame a weapon. It's your freaking soul, bro.
Oh, it's true. Weapons don't, to your point, may I? People don't understand the weapon is there for usage. It's the type of usage that puts in a situation. I mean, look at it, the weapon, right? I can honestly tell you, when I went to New York in 2018, I'm witnessing all type of stuff. I'm a city guy from Brooklyn, New York. I've witnessed it. I grew up watching the Twin Towers being built. And I'm watching all this stuff taking place. So for me, witnessing as a Latino as well, watching this Dominican kid lose his life at 22 years old breaks my heart. And watching his wife. And here's the thing that people don't understand, that they had an argument. They had an argument. And who was to say that was the last time they were going to see each other? Go ahead. Go back to you. Go ahead.
No, they're the people we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the crazy part about it. And it just hurts because, we were all, we shall over, all this other stuff when the towers fell. But man, right now, golly, I mean, this is insane. And the thing is, we could see the momentum, just like we were back in wearing a uniform. You could see the momentum happening when you're going to have a class out. Well, in the aviation guys, which is you can see when you're going to have a class out, but airplanes don't fall out of the sky.
No.
It's your practice, it's your maintenance, your operations, your command environment. That's what happens.
Look, bro.
Very rarely airplanes fall out of the sky.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. We both look at the city from the outside looking in, right? We both understand that. And this is why I'm passionate about this thing. Just witnessing this funeral. Just witnessing the rows of NYPD, and to witness, as you stated, people don't understand. We voted for these people, and it took 8 to 10 years to discombobulate what we established from 9/11. And a lot of people don't understand that. Honestly, I'm going to drive. This is to let the people know. I'm literally driving to New Jersey to see my mom, who's 90 years old. And I have family in Spanish Harlem, and I have family in Washington Heights, and I have family in Brooklyn. You think I'm going to go visit that? Hell no. Hell no. It's so ridiculous. It's like scary. And it's like we both come from the same neighborhood, and we're looking at this debacle, and people are pointing fingers. They're using guns, but look at who's using the weapon. What's your thought on that?
Bro, they had this hip hop kid, a teenager still, shot at a police or hit the police officer behind you, and he's out on bail. Talking about he's gonna continue his career. And I mean, the dude shot a police officer. So where's the? I mean, come on, man. This is ridiculous. This is, it's not mystery theater. You know, the thing is, though, since I remember, like I said, we were talking about before, when I came back on leave and when Giuliani took over, I was like, what the heck is going on? You got freaking Toys R Us, on 42nd Street?
Mm-hmm.
It's the command environment and leading. And the thing is, though, this guy de Blasio, good on him. Him and his wife got $700 million. That's a different story and a different day. But the point is that it's not mystery theater, and they voted for Eric Adams.
Now tell me about Eric Adams. So a lot of people don't know. Real quick, I need to, man.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
No. Don't let me go. Here's it. A lot of people need to hear this. Tell us about Eric Adams, because a lot of people, because I witnessed the funeral. It was like, I saw the commissioner. I know, he was a cop, but a lot of people don't understand the backstory. And a lot of people, if they witness the recording on Facebook Live, and the biggest thing that I didn't understand is, why wasn't it on the local news? That's what I didn't get. This is a NYPD officer that was brutally killed, and his partner. These are two guys that were under the age of 30. They bit the bullet. And then the thing about it is, to your point, right? It's 2020. We've lost like 7 law enforcement officers in the last, hasn't been a month. And the thing about it is the crimes, the hate crimes that are happening in New York City, Asian hate, pushing people into the train, into the tracks. What makes you think that a lot of people won't want to visit New York? What's your thought on that?
Bro, I don't even want to go.
Right.
I'm gonna keep my backside and just like you, just stay over there, and that's it. I ain't going to have no, go to the places I used to go to. Because the thing is, it almost reminds me of New York in the 70s, which, you got to put it. You can watch the videos, you can YouTube that stuff and see what it was. And this is exactly what it was when Curtis Lever was a kid at the time doing what he did.
Right.
But the point is, it's insane when we had, remember, Bernard Getz when we were kids. And people were sick of it. People like, oh, man, I was good with it too. I was a kid younger. But the thing is, we continue this route of, and this is one thing, accepting failure and accepting crime. We're gonna jerk some tears and stuff like that, which I did. But the point is that we want to blame somebody, and it's the thing is, it's just I don't even want to go to the city anymore.
Well,
I just don't. I don't want to be balling my fist up like when I was a kid before, ready to go at any second.
Well, here's my thing to you, right? I grew up in the 70s, right? I grew up in the 60s and 70s when crime was rampant. It was like 6 o'clock. You wouldn't go to East New York. 6 o'clock, you better not even go to Spanish Harlem. Yeah, 6 o'clock, right. You better not even don't catch the train to go to the South Bronx. And now what we're living.
No. I got my stadium back there, literally.
Mm-hmm. And. But the people don't understand that I lived through it, and to see this going back over 50 years, right? I have a lot of comments that I'm putting out there because we're talking. But the biggest thing that I can share with you is I'm taking it personal. Yeah. We both taking it personal because we've lived to survive to talk about what we've gone through, and people don't understand that when you come from an urban environment like that, where is concrete jungle, where there's drug dealers, there's prostitutes, there's crazy crimes happening in the subways and mass transit. There's happening in the street. And then thank God for 9/11 that it kind of turned around. But now look at it. 10, 15 years later, we're back in the same scenario. I mean, I literally cried. I bawled my eyes out. I never got so emotional to a point where I witnessed these local kids in the heat of the battle, in spite of being hated by society, they decided to pretty much become law enforcement officers, and then they paid for their lives, and they're Hispanic. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
And here we're living in the East Coast, and people don't understand. Look what's happening here in the East Coast, in the West Coast. Here in Los Angeles, right? Crimes, they're just stealing, they're follow home robberies, they're shoplifting, and more or less they're not going to get pinched for it. So we as society, it's our fault. To be quite honest, it's our fault. It's our fault. And people don't understand. We should do that. I said, well, wait, stop for a minute. Think about in the heat of the moment when, all due respect to Black Lives Matter and everything else, when George Floyd got brutally killed by this ignorant law enforcement officer that gave everybody, a black eye, they just went to town on it. Gave everybody an excuse to loot, gave everybody an excuse to assault, gave everybody an excuse to do everything else, and they lost the compassion. So for you and me who have served, right, we have a different mentality to more or less educate people because we've seen it from both sides of the spectrum. And we as urban kids can understand the true meaning of quality of life. So it sucks.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree, man. You can say better. I remember it was a key point, and it was during the Obama administration when that thing happened in Baltimore.
Right.
And one thing I learned is it's like giving them room to destroy. I remember the mayor of Baltimore said that. And I was just like, what are you talking about, man? The thing is with the George Floyds and all them other guys, like Michael Brown's all stuff. If people would have invested the time in these people before the police had to do their job, these dudes would be running around singing, whistling Dixie. But we always want to look at the thing after, which is insane. Freaking insane. You call law enforcement for the worst time of your life, where it's like, hey man, you need to chill out. Hey man, you need to chill out. Let me get my boy to chill out. And then now you're gonna call law enforcement so they can do their job. And there's a ton of other things going on. And the thing is, we always want to look at the thing after the fact. But the thing is, if they would invest in themselves in their own communities, their own people, they'd be good. You wouldn't need to be. I mean, well, not that. I'm not condoning what they do, but I'm saying you'd be like, man, this dude's a dirtbag. But the thing is, we always want to blame somebody else, and that's what goes by point to voter. That law enforcement dude with the Michael was George Floyd. This dude, I mean, we're accepting. You're right. You're accepting violence.
Yeah.
Insane. You're accepting burning down the neighborhood for a whole time. Acceptable. It's just like, what the hell is going on?
You allow it. Wait. Here's my thing, right? Again, we're watching this like it's a movie. It's like The Purge, that old movie, The Purge, where they, you've got 24 hours to take out as many people as you want, to do whatever you want. You got free reign to destroy the city for 24 hours. But guess what? This has been going on for the last almost 2 years, right? Yeah. And the other thing is this. I got guys from Los Angeles, law enforcement agencies in Los Angeles, they're coming over here to the Riverside County to apply because they don't want to take the vaccine. So there's another situation that puts into it. But you and I, we're taking it personal because we grew up with it. And a lot of people don't understand when you see your hometown that has a lot of history, that has a lot of diversity, that has been able to withstand a lot of challenges, especially after 9/11, to witness two local kids against all odds. They're Hispanic, Afro-American, they're Dominican, they're Puerto Rican, whatever the case. They're minorities. They decided to be what other people would not dare to be, law enforcement officers. They paid their lives. And then people are focusing on the weapon, but look who's behind the weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're accepting this because they my skin color's black, but the point is, we're accepting it because of different skin tone. Now, if it would have been reversed or something like that, we would have been burning the city down.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. And the thing is, we got to call a duck a duck. It is. Mm-hmm. And it's not making it any better. They're saying that, and it was New York's priority. Racism. I'm like, you talking about racism in New York? Have you ever walked down the street in New York?
No.
It's just like, you're looking at the mirror every time you're walking down the street. Your priority is racism? Come on, man.
Well, that's a touchy feeling. Here's the thing. You and I understand that people are getting highly offended by the stupidest things that are going on. They're highly offended. They're highly offended. And the thing about it is that we're going to have eventually, mark my words, man, this is the way I look at it. we're going to have something of a real version of Escape with New York, because the criminals are going buck wild. They're getting, here's the thing that's happening. Los Angeles, and real quick, let me just share. All you people that wanted to call in, just text me while I'm still with this. No, just hold on. The people that are texting me, just give me a minute, because we're having this conversation, and then I'll give you the floor. But one last thing for you. Here's what's going on in Los Angeles, right? Super Bowl. They're cleaning everybody else up. But here's the biggest thing that's going on that people don't understand. They want this thing with Los Angeles Rams to win. They're pushing out the homeless and everything else. But here's the biggest thing that's going on right now is human trafficking. So there's a lot of things that are going on. So what do you think about overall what you're saying? Last thing, and I got to give somebody some props for it.
Yeah, I saw that, people. Yeah, it's just, once you condone that behavior and try to sweep the trash out, but you're not going to throw the trash out, like put it on the carpet, the garbage is still there, you know?
Right.
It's just like the cartoons, you know? And the thing is, though, is that I'm going to put one last note. You talk about Los Angeles, good old San Diego. I went downtown to pick my lady to go to dinner one night. I thought it was back in New York in the 70s, man.
Yep.
Like, people cracked out of their minds on a corner, and good thing I had a cigar, because I had to light it up, because it's after eating, you can smell the poop and the feet and the urine. Yeah. So, yeah, that's San Diego, man. Where we used to get, I mean, it looks like back when I first joined in the 90s again.
Well, San Diego, when I was stationed in the 80s, nothing like that. And, so, you can keep my number, text me. I just got to give some more people some props, man. So I want to thank you, All
right, God bless.
All right, man. Hey, so for all you people, Chris, if you want to call in, call in at 562-286-3111. That is 562-286-3111. I apologize, but I had the one individual that we grew up in the city. We understand that. But what's your thoughts about this rampant killing law enforcement officers? Just witnessing today's funeral on this. And this is Chris. What's up, my man? How are you? Happy New Year. Hello? Chris, can you hear me? Chris, hello? If you're on mute, try it again. So I'll get another caller. Chris, go ahead, call me back, because you were part of the force. We'll take in some recent services, talk about the recent service of Jason Rivera and William Mora, about two of the New York's finest that paid with their lives in a recent domestic violence situation call that was taken in there in Harlem. So for a lot of people don't understand, I want some law enforcement officers that are, they don't have to identify themselves, but more or less share what they're going through, because I'm going to see if I could call this brother on here, because it's apparently we're having some issues. So I'm going to call him and see what's going on. But I'm taking this. I'm taking this very personal in a way where we can more or less get in there. Hey, Chris, let me call you, Chris. Don't call me back. Let me call you back, because apparently it's not going through. So, again, what's your comments? If you like this content, share it, like it, tag it, put something in there today. Hello? Are you there? Hey, brother, how are you? Happy New Year.
Hey, brother. Happy New Year. How are you?
Man, I'm good. But, I was watching today's Facebook Live on Jason Rivera and services for William Mora, but his services for next week. Watching the wife and the brother, in St. Patrick's Cathedral, just pouring their hearts out. And a lot of people don't realize that Jason and his wife were newlyweds for only 6 months. And, the last time they had a conversation, they had a fight. They had an argument. And who was to say that this would be the last time she ever see him? So go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
Well, again, thank you for taking my call, and thank you for doing this. I was listening in to the other gentleman that had called, and I'm going to touch on a few things. Number one, being a retired NYPD detective, I'm only out about a year and a half now. that funeral that you witnessed, it touches home. There's actually people of other law enforcement agencies that come all over the country and, in fact, the world to pay tribute to the fallen.
Mm-hmm.
And the way these two kids died, and I don't like to use the word kids, it's a term of endearment and affection, being a senior guy,
Right.
you know, this being a military guy. It brought back memories, it brought a little tears to me, because my wife, when this happened, my phone was blowing up because I actually worked in that area.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in 2004, when I was in housing anti-crime.
Right.
I know the 32 precinct very well. I know the Polo Grounds very well. I know exactly where this happened too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad and tragic. I came on the job at 22. I hit the streets at 23.
Right.
9/11 happened. And after 9/11, starting 9/12, this entire country, I don't care if you're black, white, green, yellow, purple, I don't care what religious orientation you are, everybody was an American, and everybody had a common goal, a common unity, so to speak. And throughout the years, and I would say, quoting your last conversation with the prior caller,
Mm-hmm.
within the past 12 years, 10, 12 years, the society has taken a 180. And I want to be very clear about what I'm about to say next.
Yeah. Go for it.
The police department, law enforcement as a whole, do not go out and innocently do harm to the citizens to which they protect. I know the last caller, and you were talking about George Floyd. Those incidents are less than 1% of 1% of all interactions. So if you take every cop, which there's probably about 800,000 in the United States, that would be off, and each cop has one contact, that's almost a million people that interacted. Less than 1% of that is wrongful death. And this anti-police rhetoric, this twisted narrative that all cops are evil, created the defund the police movement, created the Black Lives Matter and Antifa organizations, or whatever you want to call them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that fueled a political narrative that targeted cops. These guys were doing their job.
Yep.
They were called to a location to do their job. A dispute between a mother who, I don't know if you know this, was a retired correction officer.
I heard about that.
That is 100% confirmed.
Right.
The son, the shooter in this case, was in a back bedroom.
Mm-hmm. 3
cops show up to de-escalate. And the Glock, I believe it was a Glock 45.
Yeah, Glock 45.
Had,
yeah.
With a magazine, an extended magazine that looked like a Tommy gun that has about 45 to 50 rounds. Now, we can do all the gun control and gun crime and gun this and gun that and illegal guns. Yes, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the illegal guns is you have to have a very, very uncomfortable conversation. That uncomfortable conversation is this: how did the guns get there? Why this person with an arrest history had that gun?
Mm-hmm.
And then to have an even more uncomfortable conversation, okay? Because I want to remove the police officers out of this next little blurb is: how many times do you hear in the news, black shot by other male black, male Hispanic shot by male black stabs male Hispanic in road rage incident?
No, you won't. You won't.
You won't, because it doesn't fit the narrative.
No.
And that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to truly address the police need the community just as much as the community needs the police. It's two hands washing the face approach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you're not going to address that issue, that specific issue, then why are we having the other conversations? Okay. The police are there to do a job. The line that is civility versus complete anarchy. I like your reference to The Purge or Escape from New York.
Right.
You're already there. You're there. You know, people getting pushed in front of Times Square 10, 12 years ago, that was like a week news coverage, and it was shock and awe. Now it's an everyday occurrence.
Correct.
Because of the policies. And the only way you're going to have substantial change is you need to get these policies reversed. This bail reform law, the raise to age thing, where you could be 16, shoot somebody, and be charged as an adult. Well, at 16, if you could pull out a gun and shoot a rival gang member, you should be tried as an adult.
Correct.
It's a very stupid thing you did,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And people want to stay in political office and, you know, keep their political party aligned in power. These incidents are used as scapegoats for that narrative. And it's truly sad, because the city of New York was warned under de Blasio, under Cuomo, under this new governor, Paul, however you pronounce the name.
Yeah, I'll watch
Right?
that. Mm.
This is going to happen. This is going to get worse. You have 5 officers of the NYPD shot beginning of 2022, and they were only at the 21st or 23rd of, well, we carried one to the 23rd. Yeah, so by the 23rd, you have shot. That is the average of one cop every 4 to 5 days getting shot, and then you lost 2. 2 died tragically.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And go ahead, Ira.
Here's what, because my wife walked in, so I just don't want to disrupt everything. So here's my thing, right? I have a hard time with everybody else just passing the buck and witnessing what's going on. And the biggest thing that I can honestly tell you is that we're heading to that situation of the purge and escape to New York. For a lot of individuals, they don't understand that this is a reality. This is a reality. You're retired, but during your time, your tenure as a law enforcement officer, a couple things come into perspective, right? There's, your wife, your kids, your family, your friends, your co-workers, and the day-to-day criminal activity and horrific things that you have witnessed during your time as a law enforcement officer that more or less has changed your perspective on how you view life, and it's changed the perspective how you view other people, how they live their life, because you've been around to live it and talk about it. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So when we witness a situation like this, where, Jason Rivera's funeral, and then we got William Morris coming up next week, and watching these young, like I say, kids in endearment, future ahead of them, taken by this stupid criminal activity. And Jason Rivera's wife just put it out there in St. Patrick's Cathedral of more or less of talking about the DA not doing his job,
Yes.
So what's your thoughts about this?
I will, well, again, it takes a tragic incident. Everything she said as a grieving white widower, as a citizen of the city of New York. The problem is, and it goes back to policy and politicians, you have a DA that literally, and you can check my prior post because I posted it on LinkedIn, so anyone can fact check me.
Right.
An inter-department memo of the Manhattan DA's office on crimes that they will not even prosecute.
Yeah.
They physically will not prosecute crimes. Now, I find that mind-boggling. Okay, I find that insulting. You, as a common citizen, have the right to A, feel safe where you live, where you work, where you go to school. You have the right to report a crime to law enforcement, or if you feel that you are the victim, to make a police complaint. You have the right to follow through with your prosecution, and if depending on the crime, an arrest to be made. The problem is that you can make the complaint, the police can make the arrest, but the DA won't prosecute it. So then guess what happens? The guy you made the complaint with gets out and goes after you retaliatory for making the complaint against him.
Correct. I've seen it I've seen it here in California. What you're saying is a fact check, and people don't understand. Sorry not to cut you up, but just to interject, it's to piggyback what you're saying is that we live in so much of a free, spirited life that we're just going beyond. We're pushing the limits, and then when we're, putting out racial hate, Asian crimes, right? Pushing people on the train tracks. People don't want to do that. I mean, I've seen a TikTok with a Puerto Rican lady taking a bike chain to chain herself
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx,
yes.
Until the train comes in. So people find it funny, but it's not funny because New York is built on tourism, and more or less they've established themselves as the financial, city mecca in the United States. That's taken away because they have allowed certain protocols, like yourself, as you say, from the DA's office, and how the citizens of New York have voted for these type of politicians, and they've overpromised and underdelivered. So we're both screwed, correct?
You are correct. If I can tweak a little of something.
Yeah.
You said, number one, voting. Less than 23% or 28%, I forget which number, but it was in the 20s, of the total populace of the 5 boroughs voted for this mayor. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, that's scary because there's how many millions of people that live in the city. So only 20% voted or less than 25, that's not the whole thing. And that's a problem. So reap what you sow. It's in the good book. This is what you wanted in there. You had 8 years at de Blasio. He undid 20 years of progression of low crime, virtually no crime, economic thrive, citizens being safe, where you can walk down Times Square and not be pushed in front of a train, or walk through Times Square and not be shot.
Right.
Okay. I was on during the de Blasio years. I was on during, I caught the end of Giuliani and Commissioner Kerry. Majority of my career was Bloomberg and Kelly, and then you had this guy, de Blasio.
Right.
Okay. What the man did in 8, he should be arrested and charged with crimes against humanity. What that man did to that city.
Well, yeah,
sorry.
It's total negligence, and a lot of people don't understand is this virtual town hall on social media for LinkedIn is that this is in comparison to what we're going through in today's administration, right? This is just a reflection of the deeds that are put out there, and people are scratching their heads and wondering what's going on, what everything that's going on here. And let's put it in perspective, where gas prices, COVID, vaccine, everything that now we have high crimes, and then assassination of law enforcement officers. Back in the day, who would dare assassinate or take a law enforcement officer's life? Where people are just mundane about it and say, "Oh, doesn't matter." But to me, I take it personal. For one, because I'm a city guy. 2, because I was in the military. 3, because I served as a reservist with the law enforcement agency. So I understand that. And people don't really understand. You don't walk, if you haven't walked in your shoes, or anybody else in law enforcement, to see the crime and see the hidden stories of child abuse, drug trafficking, human trafficking, all this, and then witnessing, Jason Rivera's wife doing her best to compose herself, to explain that who would have thought that because of an argument, and they had a routine, that would have been the last that they seen each other. What do you say?
It's very gut wrenching. It's heartbreaking. I mean, heartbreaking is probably the best word to use, because, and I'm going to quote my wife Jen, and just again to your viewers, for your listeners who are watching,
yeah.
I am retired. detective from the NYPD. I am an Italian-Irish descent. My wife is full-blown Spanish. She's Puerto Rican. I have mixed-race kids, okay?
Right.
Let me tell you, I am the melting pot, my family, okay? And it's very hard because after I retired and, you know, I relocated down to Florida, we had a conversation like this. I said, because I'd never asked this question. I mean, my mom told me once during 9/11, but I asked, I go, how did you deal with it? And she was like, deal with what? And I was like, how did you deal with the nights I didn't come home? The times where you're watching the news and you know I'm there. For instance, my last hostage negotiation job. And we're having a glass of wine. My kids are with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a little bit of a date. And she literally starts getting like water in the eyes. She goes, think about you. And there was a brief silence. And I said, really? She goes, because one, I would never want to call you to distract you. But two, I would not be able to sleep at night if I let those thoughts rummage through my mind. I would drive myself crazy. And she goes, there were nights where I prayed, especially during the riots when I was working through those.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a department car and some guy in a dress uniform telling me you weren't coming home because I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
And a lot of people, and the reason why I'm saying this, Hiram, I'm sorry if I'm being a little more.
No. Look, Chris, real quick. People need to hear this because, look, I don't do this as often as I normally do because I want to focus on content. And to your point, real quick, I need to explain to the audience and people that are watching. I said, until you witness what was going on Facebook Live and witnessing the wife, the brother, you know, the commissioner, and some remarks from the mayor, right? But the thing about it is the sea of NYPD officers. And it's like, when is it enough to people realize that we're disrespecting our city and we're disrespecting law enforcement agencies because we choose to do so? Because it's a choice. We choose to do so. It was a choice, right?
You're correct.
Go ahead.
If I may,
yeah.
Well, yes, you saw a sea of blue. It's just not NYPD, bro.
Yeah.
There are law enforcement agencies throughout the country and the world that came to this funeral.
Correct.
Because whenever a cop is brutally assassinated or dies in the line of duty like this is what happens. Now, the public, it's shock and awe because it's happening more now than it has in days of past. But the reason why I think when people look at cops, whether they're male or female, Spanish, white, black, Asian, they're looking at one thing, Hiram, and one thing only. They are looking at a uniform and a shield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's what they're looking at. They're looking at it, but they don't see the father, the brother, the sister. They don't see the dad, the mom, the aunt, the uncle. They don't see the hockey coach, the basketball coach, the part-time pastor at his local church. Okay, they don't see that. And what you got a taste today on Facebook Live, what you saw, what your viewers saw, that is what law enforcement family looks like. Whether it's New York or LA, whether it's Florida or Chicago, Baltimore or Boston, that's what that family, the blue family, to help them out. But that's what you see now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only traumatic for the department, it's just as traumatic for the family. And the hardest job, and I'm sure you can relate to this being a serviceman, is being the loved one of an active service member, enforcement / first responder member, because you don't know when you walk out that door if you're coming home that night.
Correct.
And it takes a special breed of person to do the job. It takes an even more special person to be with someone that does that job. And that's what you got to see today on Facebook Live.
Well, you know what? I tell you,
people need to see that and to, like, really, if you think you have a bad day, watch that Facebook Live again. Then you compare your bad day to this bad day.
Oh, you hit it right on the head, Chris, and a lot of people don't understand it. That's why after spending it, I mean, I have to tell you, their form of longevity PTSD will last them for the rest of their lives. This is a classic PTSD situation. I mean, people don't really understand that, and people don't care. And what happens is we've lost the humanity and the connection and the respect. And to your point, right, I applaud your wife and I applaud you and your kids because you're around to talk about it. You're not doing suicide, suicide by cop or committing suicide. You're not doing anything crazy. You're not killed in the line of duty. You're not asphyxiated with any drug or alcohol situations and with mental health. That there's a lot of things that are happening with the law enforcement and the first responder community. But today I had to more or less put it out there because 22 and 26 from the neighborhood, in spite of the height of the hatred of the law enforcement, of how the society has hated law enforcement, these guys decided to do something different to represent the city, represent the community and their heritage, and to be gunned down like this. We should all learn a lesson from that. Any last words for you, Chris?
Yes, I'm going to wrap it up by 3 points. One, again, to you, thank you for your service and thank you for having these town halls. It's always a pleasure when I can partake in this. This actually hits home because this was my family, my extended family, number one. Number two, I would like to use this platform to say the following, okay?
Mm-hmm.
To the people who are listening or the entrepreneurs out there, the registered voters who live or have family that live in New York City, you got to change the policies and the politicians there. The way you get rid of bad guys out in the street is when law enforcement locks them up, they stay in jail. You got to get this bail reform law reversed and the Raise the Age Act to be reversed. It will help keep people behind bars. Okay. Lastly, don't believe the anti-police rhetoric. I denounce what that guy Chauvin did with George Floyd. All lives matter.
Mm-hmm.
But organizations of Antifa and Black Lives Matter that spin this anti-police rhetoric and all the rioting cannot be condoned by the common citizen. And that has to be denounced. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you should support not only law enforcement, but all first responders, because they do the job so you don't have to and can stay home and be safe at night. Yeah. And thank you again, Hiram, for allowing me to call in.
Anytime, brother. I really appreciate it. And thank you for putting some insight. So thank you. I appreciate it. So if you like this content, share it, like it, tag it. I'll take one more caller. And probably I'll reach out to the one that just texted me to be able to understand that more or less that it's a sad day to today's society, but I want to be able to reach out to this person that was calling me before to see how it was available.
Sir.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry about that, but I'll give you some.
No problem. This is Joe Brown in DC. I just want to say great discussion.
So, Joe, I know you call in, but give your perspective on what we were talking about. Share some light because you've been trying to reach. I'll give you the floor, man. You've been trying to reach out there. Go ahead. You got the mic. You got the floor.
Well, we're just very grateful for our police officers, especially those in the great city of New York. They put their lives on the line every day. As someone who works with the base, let me just say it requires a lot of energy to work with the base. And this is why education is so important. The more education people have, the more development, the more life formation people have, the better. And we're at a period of time where people aren't getting education. They're not growing. And we'll pay for this down the road. And we're starting to pay for it now with law enforcement officers really putting themselves on the line every day. It's exhausting work, getting in and out of a car, dealing with people's problems, people yelling. And, we're all human. So very grateful for them, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
You're welcome, Joe, and I really appreciate giving different insights, because it's important that with today's professionals and using the power of social media, people need to hear everybody else's voice. So I want to thank you, Joe. All right.
Thank you. That's a force, sir. Over now.
All right. So everyone else, I want to personally thank everyone for chiming in today. If you like this content, share it, like it, tag it. This is LinkedIn Perspective of episode 73. It's in honor of Jason Rivera and William Mora, two fine Latino individuals that grew up in the city of New York in Washington Heights and decided to become NYPD's finest officers. And just watching the funeral today on Facebook Live puts things in perspective for a lot of reasons. And we should understand that in spite of what you think, we all need some kind of decorum when it comes to having law enforcement, but not to the point where they're getting brutally killed on a daily, weekly basis. They have families too, and they have their pain. So if you haven't lived in their shoes and understand that this is going to be a part of their lives for the rest of their life, you'll never understand that. So with that being said, I want to personally thank LinkedIn for having me, allowing me to have the opportunity to share this platform, to be able to create a podcast, a virtual town hall for others to be able to see this, because it's important. And pretty much it's not scripted. It's I do it on my own for others to see that. So we'll be able to do more shows, but with more content. I did it before, and I was doing it on a regular basis, but I'm looking for more content. And today's was a very touching moment to witness something that was very heartfelt. And for us on a Friday, you should understand that I learned something valuable from Jason Rivera's wife, as she stated in the funeral. It said, you could be arguing with your wife, but who says that that's going to be the last time you see each other after that? And she didn't know that was going to happen. She knew deep in her heart after that situation that things kind of changed. And I'm doing my best not to get emotional on this, but it hits home when you understand that you're on borrowed time. Yeah, you should be thankful for what's going on. You should be able to embrace your family members and really be thankful for what you have instead of constantly complaining. It should put things in perspective. So with that being said, Simplify, always beside you. Enjoy your Friday. Remember, today is Red Friday. Remember, everyone's still deployed. I want to personally thank the 32nd Precinct of NYPD, NYPD itself, and FDNY for their support in today's funeral. And I want to be able to, it's personal for me. It's personal for me because as a Latino myself that's grew up in New York, the worst thing you can see is some young lives being wasted because they're wearing a uniform to protect and serve the public. Simplify, always beside you. Enjoy your weekend. If you like this content, tag it, share it, and if you want something different or you want to hear something more, let us know. Peace out.